Extra, read all about it. Welcome to the Empires Recap, and today we'll be going over the chaos and drama of our somewhat respected ruler.
Lizzie's preferred method of populating her kingdom is kidnapping villagers from their home while disguised as their god and turning them into foxes. While trying to create their future district, she is in desperate need of the local beekeeper to remove a beehive in her way. Call 1-800-BEES if you are in need of beehive relocation or anything bee-related. After nearly dying, Joel visits to gift her with experience bottles to bring back her diamond pickaxe. Who knew horrifying people enough would get you free things? The bee squad, consisting of one GeminiTay, comes over to help Lizzie with her bee kit.
You've probably never seen this before. It's called Amethyst, and it's beautiful. The bug lady can fly!
Finally, all this preparation means she can actually start building.
I have unleashed the worst kind of evil upon my own empire.
A little incident later, and trusting the process really hard, the district is done, and Critter City starts to become more alive.
Someone who is having much more luck with their villagers is false Symmetry, who has made a deal with the Goblin King. Or rather, the Goblin King demanded social interaction in the form of a trade deal. Iron for copper. She may have cheated with the time limit, he said, but no big deal. I'm sure it counts. In other news, war has happened, and she announces her empire now has citizens. Several villagers join the family, but she needs a steady source of income. She collected the stacks of iron demanded of her and visits the goblins to gain herself some blocks of copper. She's going to have a loyal customer in Fwhip with his railways. She hangs the deal book on the wall as a reminder that she can keep people happy. That's the goal. And also getting home. There's that. And something in between. She's got rather a lot on her plate, it seems. She takes a journey to a swamp and almost dies several times. Eventually, she grabs enough slime to have at least a start for a semi-functional pumpkin farm, which is far from typical. Building a path that wraps around the mountain, Fall states she thinks she came from a sunnier place, and maybe our dear anime protagonist is learning to trust. She envisions her area in the future and how she wants to build up her empire. Lots of leaves and mountainside houses. Building up their lands isn't the only thing on the Empire's minds.
Trades are made between empires, Fwhip trading with False and Katherine, and maybe some unofficial trading with some leather from Joel's cows. The magic of the Goblins fully cures the villagers into proper goblins, and Sausage drops by to trade him some shulker boxes for some copper. He expands the lava operation and even does some redstone to better automate the fueling process of his smelter.
I'm gonna have a goblin think!
He heads to the nether and breeds up some of the hoglins before making a hoglin farm on the roof. Seems a bit odd, but he has a capitalistic plan, a butcher's shop. Quickly though, he takes the tunnel to bore to dawn further through the path, and delivers some rocks to Tumbletown. The butcher's shop requires quite the grocery list of blocks before it can be built, but they are swiftly collected and Fwhip moves on to building and decorating his new shop, including a giant sign. A visit to Scott's trades some rocks, and Fwhip decides to mess with the god nearby by waxing all his copper. Possibly counterintuitively given what he's just done, Fwhip's final project is to make a prison above the patch in the deep dark. You definitely don't want to end up there.
It's a busy day in the froglight industry, and tradesman Pixlriffs is making house calls. With his handy bundle of vendor chests, he stops by the Goblin Empire to trade for shulkers of stone and sanctuary for dark and warped woods. Fwhip and Sausage are both pleased with the colorful lights, and there's even freebies with every purchase. A Magma Cube pet that can sit on your head, and an achievement if you buy all 3 colors at once. What a deal! Business is good enough that Pix needs more room to store all his imports. Except he's not storing them in chests anymore. He's going to be using caskets in the winding tombs of the capital. They're still actually chests, but they look like coffins in the back and side. Morbid. As long as he's dealing with the dead, it's a good time to do something about the death of the beautiful calcite vein in his mountain, now that he knows for sure who took it.
It's this guy. You know, the tall one.
He's almost less annoyed at Joel for stealing all the calcite than he is for Joel barely using any of his ill-gotten gains in his build.
He has been using calcite somewhere. Where has he even been using it? I'm trying to find where he's actually used it. But seriously, how's he gone and torn apart basically the entire mountain opposite my base for just like the occasional calcite accent?
Pix finally finds a patch large enough to be worth his prank, preserving the calcite island and the building upon it in a giant display case, complete with a golden nameplate and a few tourists inside. Hopefully the god has more depth perception than a bird. After using some non-disruptively obtained calcite to restore the mountain, Pix digs the beginning of the catacombs, complete with rotting ceilings and a family room for all the wood. The directory on the lectern has a helpful list of the deceased for finding the wood types, but if reading's not your style, turn the page. The floor is filled with block swappers as a hidden form of labeling. This tomb's getting 5 stars on Yelp for sure.
Pix may see visions of the past, but Katherine sees visions of the future with Lightmatica. To begin her path to connect with the other emperors, Katherine begins by building a dock with some boats she sees in the future. Despite clearly being a dock, she names the new location Princess Pier, building up a little storage building to house shipments. She's trying to rebuild her relationship with the villagers, building up a little shop for a fisherman to sell his wares in. However, she better be careful putting that cod head and salmon head together. I've heard they have some history. Finally, she begins on pathways, creating floating lanterns leading through a waterway before connecting the dock to another path. When she returns, Fwhip appears with the much-needed load of stone, which the two put in the newly constructed storage building. How very lore.
Okay, let me get the shulker boxes. We can drop them off.
Bring them in here.
We gotta do it
Bring
for
them
the
in
lore.
here.
We have to do it for the lore.
The lore!
She finishes her episode by constructing a path throughout her kingdom, cutting through some of the dead grass. The villagers said it's been dead 18 years. Who knew our dear princess was so young?
There's not a way to take magic away, but the Witches' Academy certainly doesn't want Shelby practicing magic. She knows she's technically doing a crime, but it's fine, just don't tell the sheriff. Shelby has been working on the Evermore recently, trying to make the magic of the woods work with her, and she thinks she might need a helping hand. Luckily in her witch book is a spell to create a sprite. It's an ancient spell from the gnome people, but she manages to successfully corral the spirit into our house. Somebody's got to keep the gnome magic alive, right? She takes a trip to Sanctuary to see if she can get a banner made for the Evermore. If she's going to be staying a while since she can't exactly go back home, she needs a proper banner, of course. Sausage introduces her to the magic and tells her she needs to collect a creeper skull from Joey for her banner. She doesn't know how to summon lightning yet. She's getting along with the Evermore's magic better when a glowing sign pops up in her empire. Don't really know what that's about. If she can't be the best at magic, she'll be the physically strongest witch ever until she can work it out.
Maybe my magic isn't perfect, but if somebody wants to fight me about it, I'm so ready.
And although she's trying her best, she's still worried about the centre of the mangrove. The voices have to come from somewhere, don't they? Wait, is the fog getting thicker?
Escaping from the ever lore, we go over to one of the people who does the most lore, Scott, who takes us on a tour of his newly organized storage room, before being visited by his godly neighbor. Joel takes the die and throws some used elytra in his face before flying away. Rude. Scott takes up sewing and fixes his wings with some cloth and sticks and makes some very colorful wings. With his new wings, he takes to the skies and flies over the other Emperor's lands, soaring over the Great Bridge, taking some stuff from Sanctuary on the way, and ending up in Tumbletown, looking for some gunpowder. The sheriff doesn't need to know about his past grievances with authority. He can't resist some innuendo while there, of course. Resident Witch Shelby Shubble visits Chromia for some dye, and is surprised by his apparent magic vision when he can see the magic coming off her new wand. Apparently his heterochromia it was caused by some magic skull when it stole his eye, and he had to get a potion from a suspicious-looking wizard to get it back. Well, not back. He got a new magic eye, and the skull that originally stole his eye, along with the wizard, left with no trace of their existence when he woke up. Honestly, seems like a good thing to me. Don't really want to keep an eye-stealing skull around. Bad vibes. After the trip down memory lane, Scott travels to Katherine's custom shop to ask if she can recreate his old fedora from his memory. This week seems to be the week of reminiscing, as Sausage also has his dramatic backstory told.
Sausage is back to find his child has returned. Instead of just bringing him back to Joel, Sausage shows some father-son bonding with him, like fishing, animal killing, before returning him to Joel with some of his finest wood. On his way back, he meets with Jimmy to drop off some books in exchange for gunpowder. Disclaimer, the sheriff has no involvement in any explosions. Trading with Pixlriffs, who gives him some frog lights for some wood before stocking up on his goods at the outpost, he spots someone off in the distance over at the campfire. But no one was in line. So who could it have been? How suspicious. Brushing it off as him being sleepy and seeing things, he heads to Sanctuary. He builds up the town square, and Hermes is home to see it with his new pet axolotl. They spend some time decorating the interiors of the town square, including giving Hermes a house near the post office. After finishing, he reminisces on his past home, and his power to talk to animals. In this, we find that he lived in a town with Eddie as his father figure, not knowing his real dad. and his mother, who worked long hours at the castle, which eventually took her life when Sausage was 10. Eventually, the tyrannical king, without magical power, wanted all the magic to himself. So, Eddie forced him to flee in fear of him getting hunted down for his magic by the guards. Maybe that was who he saw off in the distance. Let's hope not. The local witch visits, and he gives her a magical sunflower to study when they part. It's time to visit Eddie. Deciding he needs a better blacksmithing place, he builds himself a huge workshop with lots of cool bits and bobs. And showing Eddie around the place, he helps him build a few tools, and thus ending the episode.
Pranks, and a tunnel? This week, the sheriff is pranked with a noise machine and has Andy written on the bottom of his foot. He is not a toy. Funnily enough, Deputy Norman disagrees. There's an alien watching over Tumble Town today, and some changes have been made. New farms, rocks, and lore, spelled L-O-R-E. The magic is used to change his elytra into something the sheriff could be proud of. There's even a badge on the back. Is elytra now truly the sheriff's? He can get to work on the tunnel through the mountains surrounding Tumble Town. Its future is to be a train track connecting different areas of Tumble Town when it expands, so he needs a lot of iron. Iron is Force's export, but she's been busy, so she gives him permission to visit her farm and collect any iron he wants, in return for some gunpowder, of course. The tunnel is nearly finished, but the amount of iron he needs is a lot, so he leaves it there. He wants to build a jail for the pranksters, or maybe for their ego, around these parts. Yeah, wonder who that could be.
And the reason we've named it Stratos is because we can make the pun stratosphere if we ever put a sphere in here.
Our resident story man, is back and ready to start construction on the stratosphere, the very thing he named his kingdom for. He acquires quartz from trading with Fwhip's villagers and makes a note to himself to expand his own villager operation soon. Before he can start on the stratosphere, he has some other business to take care of. Hermes has returned with the delivery of various woods from Sausage, and Joel sends them back with the yellow axolotl. Joel then builds a super smelter, and swings by the mesa for his regular dose of messing with the law. With business out of the way, he starts by building a bridge to where the stratosphere will float. After a few more material gathering trips, he constructs the stratosphere. It seems that the large sphere is there to house the true stratosphere, a smaller orb of solid gold. In order to liven up the place, he finds some frogs to breed and take back, though not without some hiccups along the way.
Yes! Okay, finally. Wait, how'd you pick this up? No!
Back at the islands, he acquires the essence of the gods. When he tosses the essence in his elytra into the magical fountain, they get transformed into a pair of gilded white wings.
Join us next week for more chaos and shenanigans. Thank you for watching, and thanks to everyone for helping out with the project. Check them all out below.